Andrew Porter from the Daily Telegraph. Prime Minister, can you envisage Britain ever needing to use the new increased IMF special drawing rights scheme? And particularly some of your ministers have said today that under this scheme there should no longer be a stigma attached to going to the IMF. And personally, can you say whether you feel vindicated by the amount of political capital you've put into arranging this G20 meeting this week?
Well, I've just been trying to persuade people that if you've got a global problem, you've got to get people together to deal with it. And I've just been trying to get people together so that we can focus on it with our sole attention on what we can do. And I feel that world leaders have come together, and this is not a set of abstract philosophical words that are being issued. These are detailed measures that include sums of money, include timetables, include, for example, what nobody could have expected 5 months ago, an end to the way tax havens work by refusing to transfer tax information to authorities who ask for it. And now we're finding every country is signing up to that. So, yes, it is important. The IMF facilities, countries have offered that they will take up the IMF facility. I think Mexico has yesterday, but we're not proposing to do so.
I have a question from the gentleman in the red tie, 5th row, far left.
Richard Murphy, the Tax Justice Network and the G20 Voice bloggers. You have made an important announcement today about the future of tax havens, and I warmly welcome it. But the criteria that is being used is that of the OECD, which focuses upon private tax evasion. But of course we know that tax avoidance by major corporations around the world is just as important. And we know that the developing countries of the world have so far been excluded from the OECD information exchange process. Is this the start of the end of tax havens, or is this the end of tax havens?
This is the start of the end, because country after country is now signing up to the principles that have been set forward internationally. The principle is you've got to be prepared to exchange information about tax on request. So we had Switzerland, then we had Austria, then we had Luxembourg, then we had Andorra, then we had Hong Kong, then we had Singapore. In the last few days, we've had a load of other countries who've been prepared to sign up to this, Macau. Now I think you're going to find other countries wanting to join this group. The reason is that people will increasingly see that it is unsafe to be in a country which still wants to declare itself as a tax haven. There will be no guarantee about the safety of their funds if they are there. And if tax information is exchanged on request, as now these countries are agreeing to, then the benefits that come from being in these countries become diminished every day. So I think that this is a major step forward. It is an announcement today of a list of countries that are not abiding by the rules. It is saying there are countries who have signed up to the principles and have agreed a lot of bilateral deals. There are countries who have signed up to the principles, but we say they have yet to agree bilateral deals. And then there are those countries who have signed up to none of the principles and have no bilateral deals. So this is a comprehensive attempt with other initiatives, I believe, to follow. Initiatives that we agreed today to go outside the range of OECD countries as well later to clean up this problem and to try to do it once and for all. Of course, there will be people who try to avoid tax, but we are taking all the legitimate legislative measures to seek to close these loopholes.
Amanullah Hussain, BBC Arabic Service. Prime Minister, out of $250 billion budget for boosting global trade, how much will be set aside to help developing and poor countries save their trade, especially with the West? And second, please, what is the Saudi contribution to the IMF?
The first question is, what is the amount of money of the $250 billion that will go directly to developing countries? The World Bank trade facility of $40 billion will be the first stage, but of course there will be more. Then you asked me about the special drawing rights of the IMF. That is the issuing of international rights and currency that will increase liquidity. 19 billion of that will go to the poorest countries, but some countries may agree that their share is passed on to the poorer countries of the world. So we get to our bigger figure for the developing countries by adding up all the different things that we've agreed to today, including, uniquely, the sale of IMF gold. That is gold held by the International Monetary Fund, which was to be used entirely for one purpose. We're now saying that much of that sale has now got to go to help the poorest countries of the world. So gold of the world is now being used to help the poor of the world.
Torquil Kyton, Glasgow Herald. People will be watching this tonight, Prime Minister, on television, wondering what it means to them. What does it mean to ordinary voters?
People want confidence in their banks, and they want to feel that their savings are secure. They want to know that we're doing everything in our power to stop the loss of jobs, to make people secure in their homes, to get funds to small businesses that are creating jobs in the economy. And we've moved one step further on today, a significant step further on, because we've persuaded other countries to join with us in an international programme, a global plan for recovery and reform. I said there was no quick fix, but what we have done today is give people more confidence in the banking system, show that we are investing our resources to create jobs, and making sure that our international financial system, and that means the savings of everybody, their investments in banks, the chances of creating businesses, that we are doing more to make that happen in the months and years ahead. So our priorities are the needs of our individual citizens faced with an international economic hurricane that has hit every country and has lashed our shores as well. And we have got to take the action to help people through these difficult times.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for talking to us. My name is Rani Singh from Asian Enterprise magazine. Do you think financial boom and bust is inevitable, Prime Minister?
I think we've seen how a global financial system can go wrong when what happens in one bank, which is entangled with many banks, then creates almost a power cut right across the world. So, look, we've been dealing in the last 50 years with inflation crises. The crises that most countries have faced are when inflation gets out of control, you've got to raise interest rates, but the cost of raising interest rates is you push businesses out of existence and people lose their jobs. The problem now is not inflation. In fact, inflation is very low in most economies. The problem is a global financial failure. The banking system froze up. And the problem there is we're now finding that banks are so entangled internationally with each other that you've got to have principles governing the system, you've got to have rules that are worldwide, and you can't just deal with one national regulatory system. You've got to have a form of global supervision that can deal with the flows of capital around the world. If the banking system can freeze up, we've got to be able to take action immediately to deal with that, and that's why we've put in place the restructuring of banks, the new funds that will enable countries that cannot afford to restructure their banks to do so, and of course also the rules for pay and for behaviour and for standards that banks will have to agree to in every country of the world in the future.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News. You said you were confident that countries would do whatever was necessary to get growth. How can you be so confident? Are there any sanctions in this communique? Are you hoping the IMF names and shames those countries that don't? A lot of them didn't sound very keen on doing anything else.
Well, once again, I'm pleased you've asked that question, because we say specifically in our communique that not only will we do whatever it takes, but we will also ask the International Monetary Fund to assess the action that has been taken and the global action that is then required. And we will meet again in the autumn to look at what countries have done, to review the progress we've made, to take whatever action then is necessary on top of that. But look, don't forget this. We're in the middle of the biggest fiscal injection, the biggest injection of resources into our economies in history. $5 trillion. It's a huge sum of money, but it means that not just one country, but almost every country is trying to get their economy moving by putting more resources into it. That's the sensible thing to do when banks fail and markets fail, and that is what we are doing. But people have signed up to a declaration that allows what is being done to be assessed, and we will report back, of course, in the autumn about what is being done. But the International Monetary Fund will regularly assess the progress that is being made. So I have some confidence that this money is not only going to be put into the economy, but it's going to be put to good use in saving or creating jobs. So, fine. Thank you all very much. Thank you.